The U.S. Navy's air and sea assets track the Russian submarine off the east coast while the rest of the flotilla heads south. The U.S. military air and sea assets closely tracking the Russian naval flotilla that recently docked in Havana, Cuba. The flotilla has since split, with a nuclear-powered submarine returning north to the Atlantic Ocean, and meanwhile the remaining warships are heading south with a possible port call in Venezuela. Earlier this week, the U.S. officials told local paper Miami Herald about the new movements of the Russian naval flotilla. The official explained how the U.S. and Canadian warships, including destroyers and Coast Guard cutters, were tracking the submarine as it traveled back up the Florida coast in international waters. Ex-user The Intel Frog suggested that by late Thursday night that the Russian sub is likely several hundreds of kilometers offshore of North Carolina northbound, given a number of U.S. air assets in the area. And the official with the U.S. Northern Command said the U.S. Navy continues to track the movements of the Russian flotilla, which includes the missile frigate Admiral Gorshkov, the nuclear-powered cruise missile submarine Kazan, and the oil tanker Pashin, and the salvage tug Nikolai Chiker. They noted the flotilla had split, with the nuclear submarine moving north to the Atlantic and the rest of the warships likely making a port call in Venezuela. This presence in the Western Hemisphere marks the first significant Russian naval deployment in the region in 5 years, and the first deployment of a nuclear submarine since the end of the Cold War, the paper said. This comes as the Biden administration projects weakness worldwide as the world fractures into a dangerous multipolar state. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis recently blamed Biden's posture of weakness for a fleet of Russian warships sailing off South Florida's coast last week with a port call in Cuba. "We are failing as a country," Governor DeSantis said. "We're failing as a country with a deterrent capability, and I think it starts at the top with the President of the United States." The governor added, "They're not going to be deterred by the president wandering around aimlessly at the G7. If the elderly President Biden appeared as clueless at the recent G7 meeting as he did, then he's even more out of touch when defending the homeland," DeSantis said. And this is on Zero Hedge by Tyler Durden. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.